The CPI print last week was the big story, 9.1%. I mean, the White House, like we said we speculated last Tuesday, they seem to like get some inside info. I don't know if they really have inside info or they're just preparing for the worst. But if they do have inside info, that's really a little strange, a little worrying to me.
Looking at everything together, it's like I don't see how CPI can continue increasing at like 8-9% for the next several months, just because it's already at this hugely elevated level. Consumers are clamping down. We've got interest rates hiked already, so you're starting to see that impact on like mortgage rates and how much people can afford for housing. Right now, they seem to be pricing in 75 basis points. Is that where you think we land through all this mess?
I think so. I think they do the conservative thing in their mind is 75 basis points again until they get more information. Before we talk about the earnings report tomorrow a little bit, full self-driving beta 10.13 rolling out this week.
This last update that I got, which is presumably the same version that you have right now, was definitely a step backward for me. The general trend is always that it gets better over time.
Rocket Lab has a new responsive launch service.
It's like a bunch of different things all put together. They talk about having responsive rockets, responsive launch sites, responsive satellites, and responsive personnel. Really what they're trying to do is to make these small satellite operators make the kind of whole launch process as easy as possible for them. They have this goal where they want to be able to launch your satellite into orbit within 24 hours of the satellite arriving at the launch facility.
Rocket Lab is evolving. They're trying to make it easier to obtain and work with new clients, it sounds like, with this. And I think they're trying to show that they're more of not only customer friendly, but more of a vertically integrated space services company. To me, it's not so much about like what quarter are they going to be profitable, what's their accounting metrics next quarter. As long as their costs are under control, I think it's just going to take time for that story of Rocket Lab to play out. Speaking of like billion-dollar companies, Lemonade Insurance, $1 billion market cap, definitely seems like momentum's picking up. These Google trends and the App Store rankings. That's another thing that's sort of like a venture capital investment right now. Like, yeah, they're not making money now, and it might be a while, but as long as their costs are somewhat under control and their story of their technology, their product and service is playing out in the industry they're in, then it could be a huge winner in the future.
And the thing that I find interesting with both of those two is that all the stuff that they kind of get crap for from the analyst community, like on Lemonade, for example, it's their loss ratio is too high. And with Rocket Lab, it's mostly that their revenue is just too small. But the things that I'm thinking of are, okay, well, Rocket Lab's got a backlog that's like almost 10 times higher than their revenue. They've already got positive gross margins, which is like kind of incredible in my mind. And their operating expenses are kind of growing linearly. So to me, it's like very reminiscent to what Tesla was doing back in the day. And then with Lemonade, it's like the loss ratio is going to fluctuate quarter to quarter over time. They definitely need to figure that out in the long run. But the thing that everybody seems to be missing, or at least not emphasizing, is the growth of in-force premium, and especially breaking that down by in-force premium per customer and then customer growth rate. Very quickly, it can get to like massive growth. I like digging into the financials, and I just feel that the general sentiment around there is sort of focused on the wrong metrics.
I think it could reach $1,200 by end of year if the macro market cooperates.
There are two different buckets of deferred revenue on the balance sheet. The total amount of deferred revenue, I'm probably going to not get it exactly right, but it's somewhere in the neighborhood of like $1.8 billion. But that also includes non-FSD related deferred revenues. I was assuming an average deferred revenue balance of probably just over $4,000. And then at 100,000 FSD beta testers, that gets to a little over $400 million of FSD deferred revenue. This energy story is going to be like something that gets more exciting in 2030 and beyond. No, I don't expect a catalyst in Q2. It'd be great if they just surprise of like a positive 2% or something would be great, but I'm not expecting that. I do think the surprise that nobody else I've heard is talking about is the vehicles returning from lease. So if there's like $100 million of gross margin on the services line, which is what I'm projecting, then that'd be, a surprise.